From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Kayode Okekiolu.
Tonight, Biodun Oyebanji is sworn in as 5th Executive Governor of Ekiti State, becoming the first governor to take over from a predecessor from the same political party. National Broadcasting Commission and the broadcasting organizations of Nigeria condemn Zamfara state government's closure of media houses following a clash between APC and PDP supporters, which left at least one person dead. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana calls for the sack of the Chief of Defense Staff, Lucky Rabo, for his role in the destruction of a vessel loaded with stolen crude oil, which he describes as a criminal offense. And on the foreign scene, Chinese President Xi Jinping insists there's no relaxation yet of the zero-COVID measures amidst rare public protests. Well, it's a new dawn in Ekiti as the state now has a new governor in the person of Biodun Oyebanji. Mr. Oyebanji, a former secretary to the government of the state, was sworn in today after the expiration of his predecessor, Kayode Fayemi's tenure. Mr. Oyebanji was sworn in at the Ekiti Parakwa Pavilion in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital. The event had in attendance top political leaders, including Mr. Kayode Fayemi, the APC presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, state governors, traditional rulers, and religious leaders, among others.
The Ekiti State Parakwa Pavilion is thronged by a large crowd who are here to be a part of history. Distinguished personalities including APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu, governors, former governors and members of the National Assembly amongst others are here to witness the historic event as Mr. Biodun Oyebanji becomes the first governor in Ekiti State to succeed a predecessor from the same political party. The governor-elect arrives the venue amidst cheers from the large crowd of admirers.
Demonstrated what Ekiti.
Then to the business of the day, oath-taking and swearing in. Coming first is that of the deputy governor-elect.
Solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Then the turn of the governor-elect, Mr. Biodun Oyebanji.
Do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Shortly after prayers, the new governor proceeds to inspect the guard of honor. In his inaugural speech, Governor Oyebanji acknowledges current national and global challenges to which Ekiti State is not insulated. He also highlights the challenges faced by the state with assurances of higher performance in the area of youth development, job creation, and good governance.
My mission for Ekiti State is to be a land of prosperity, opportunity, peace, and progress. A land in which transformed people and communities can reap the fruit of their labor in dignity, good health, and safety. A land of honor where integrity matters. For this vision to be actualized, we need to focus on a roadmap to get there.
The APC presidential candidate who represents President Muhammadu Buhari at the event calls on the people of Ekiti State to support the party in the presidential election just as they did in the state governorship election.
You are able to deliver what we signed for, democracy in earnest. Another election is coming. By February, you be ready. Will you vote? February, will you vote? You will vote for me.
Popularly described as homegrown, the new governor started his foray into politics from being secretary to the Committee for the Creation of Ekiti State. He later served the state in various other capacities, the last being secretary to the state government in the immediate past administration.
And it's a different story entirely in Zamfara state, where at least one person has died in the aftermath of a clash between APC and PDP supporters in the state. The incident, which occurred near the residence of the governorship candidate of the PDP in the state, Dr. Dauda Lawal Dari, also left several persons injured. Following the incident, the state government announced a ban on 5 media houses for covering the PDP rally, which it says contravenes the ban on all political gatherings in the state.
A ceremony organized by the Zamfara State People's Democratic Party, PDP, to receive the campees from other political parties, despite the order by the state government banning all political gatherings in the state, turns violent as supporters of the PDP and those of the APC clashed, leading to the death of one person with 18 others injured. The Zamfara State chapter of the People's Democratic Party denies violating any law, as the state's deputy chairman insists that the state government lacks the power to stop political campaigns sanctioned by INEC in line with the guidelines of the 2022 Electoral Act and the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
What we did today has been happening every day consistently, especially in the government house in Zamfara. Every day we have the campaigns coming to the governor, and we see them on television, and So I mean, we have never done any activity because the government has told us categorically there is no political activity before the official deadline of INEC, which was on October.
The Zamfara state government blames the PDP for violating the ban on political gatherings, which was recently announced by the government to curb the resurgence of terrorist activities in the state. The state's deputy governor, who visited the injured persons at the state specialist hospital, alleges that the People's Democratic Party members had attacked 18 environmental sanitation workers who were performing their duties at the Gusau GRA during the major opposition party political activity in the state, in spite of the ban on political activities till further notice.
About 18 people were there now on the bed. We have said the government has already announced no any political rally, no any political gathering within the state till after the situation is okay, till after the situation is calm. But to my surprise, one of the aspirants under People's Democratic Party has gone beyond, and he has shown that he's above the law.
As the blame game continues, the Zamfara state government has ordered the closure of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA Gusau, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Pride FM, Ganji FM, Ganji TV, Al Umma TV, for covering the PDP event in the state.
Meanwhile, regulatory bodies have been condemning the shutdown of some broadcast stations by the Zamfara state government. The National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, frowned at the action of Governor Bello Matawalle, describing it as illegal. In a statement, the Director General of the NBC, Mr. Balarabe Leila, says the Commission has notified the state government of the gravity of its decision and has asked it to reverse the directive and also apologize to the people of the state. Part of the statement reads, the Commission wishes to further emphasize that it will resist any attempts to cause a breach of law and order anywhere through the misuse of the broadcast media in Nigeria before, during and after the 2023 national elections. And as part, the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON, described the action of the Zamfara state governor as both shocking and one of disbelief. BON maintains that Governor Bello Matawalle lacks the constitutional power to issue such order. The organization accuses Governor Matawalle of abuse and misuse of executive power. In a statement, the Executive Secretary of BON, Dr. Yemisi Banbushi, further described the action as an affront against the Electoral Act 2022. The statement reads in part, the power to license or withdraw the license of a broadcast media is vested in the National Broadcasting Commission established by an Act of Parliament. Even at that, the Constitution and the Act did not give any room for arbitrariness in the exercise of the power to impose sanctions, while the body is asking INEC to stop, or rather step in, to make the governor face the consequences of his action. It asks the federal government to ensure that the affected stations are reopened. For more stories now, the ruling All Progressives Congress APC has slammed the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party PDP over his comments at a town hall meeting in Kaduna State, where he declared that the average northerner needs somebody from the north. The APC, in a statement by its publicity secretary Felix Morka, says the statement, which it describes as an attack on the country's unity, is a repulsive act of desperation on the part of the PDP flag bearer. The statement goes further to say that such an extremely desperate man cannot and must not be entrusted with the most important job of president. In a viral video, the PDP flag bearer on Saturday told his audience at a town hall policy dialogue in Kaduna that the North does not need either a Yoruba or Igbo candidate for the forthcoming presidential election.
What the average northerner needs is somebody who is from the North and who also understands the other parts of Nigeria and who has been able to build bridges across the rest of the country. This is what the northerner needs. He doesn't need a Yoruba candidate or an Igbo candidate. This is what the northerner needs. So I believe I stand before you as a pan-Nigerian of northern origin.
More politics. Barring any change, the governorship campaign of the People's Democratic Party PDP in Lagos State will commence on Wednesday, October the 19th, as the campaign team plans to visit the 245 wards in the state, starting from Alimosho local government area. The PDP candidate, Olajide Adediran, who announced this during a media parley, restated his readiness to wrestle power from the ruling All Progressives Congress in the state. Mr. Adediran, popularly called Jandor, also used the occasion to explain his manifesto, highlighting challenges in various sectors of the economy and how he intends to tackle them if he becomes governor.
There is only one thing that we need in the state of Lagos. This election, all of us need to collapse party affiliations and take a decision that for the very first time in the state of Lagos, can we have an independent governor? The one that can think on his own, the one that would on his own decide how to make Lagos work for all of us, irrespective of where you come from. That governor that will not require second level approval from anybody before making Lagos work for you. And that is what we represent. It is time for us to birth a Lagos that is wealthy in truth. Because the one we have currently is only a wealthy state on paper, unfortunately. What we hear is about our huge revenue. What we hear is that we have a budget that has done over 90% performance, both in terms of revenue and expenditure. And at the end of the day, there is nothing to show for all of this on the street of Lagos.
In part two, after the break, residents in Delta, Imo, Nasarawa and Taraba states continue to endure their ordeal with the flood which has rendered many homeless. That's in a moment. To join us again. If you've you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Biodun Oyebanji is sworn in as 5th Executive Governor of Ekiti State, becoming the first governor to take over from a predecessor from the same political party. National Broadcasting Commission and the broadcasting organizations of Nigeria condemn Zamfara state government's closure of media houses following a clash between APC and PDP supporters which left at least one person dead. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana calls for the sack of a Chief of Defense Staff, Lucky Rabo, for his role in the destruction of a vessel loaded with stolen crude oil, which he describes as a criminal offense. And Chinese President Xi Jinping insists there is no relaxation yet of the zero-COVID measures amidst rare public protests. In spite of the significant security challenges facing Nigeria at this time, the general elections scheduled for next year will go ahead. Well, that's the view of the former Minister of Power and Steel Development, Senator Leo Imoke. Senator Imoke, also a former governor of Cross River State, told Channels Television's Ladi Akeredoluwale on our current affairs program Newsnight that even though there were security threats in 2015 and 2019, elections still held on both occasions.
The elections took place in 2019. We're active participants in that process. And of course, there was, at that time, Boko Haram was raging, as it were. You know, we had the kidnappings of the Chibok girls and everything else that was going in the Northeast. But that did not deter the Electoral Commission from conducting those elections. In fact, I remember a Council of State meeting where I repeatedly raised the issue of security and received the confirmation and affirmation of the then chairman of the Electoral Commission and the security agencies that they were ready to conduct the elections and that the elections will actually be free and fair. And they went ahead to conduct those elections. And as you very well know, those elections were considered free and fair, given the fact that the PDP lost the elections in 2015 going into 2019. So those 2015 elections were elections that were conducted under a reasonable state of insecurity. I believe that the security situation in the country now is worse than it was in 2015. That's a fact. But in spite of that fact, I believe that there's still hope for a better future. And that is the basis of strengthening not just the Electoral Commission, but also that is the basis of the security agencies working hard to build confidence among the electorate that they can secure the nation for the purposes of the elections. So I believe that working collaboratively, we should be able to conduct elections across the country.
For the full interview with Senator Imoke, do watch Newsnight tomorrow, Monday at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. Well, away from the elections, human rights lawyer Mr. Femi Falana is asking for the resignation of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, over his alleged complicity in the theft of crude oil in different parts of the country. Mr. Falana accused the Chief of Defense Staff of giving cover to those sabotaging the economy of the nation through involvement in illegal oil bunkering. The rights lawyer, in a statement signed by him, questioned why some military personnel set ablaze a vessel loaded with stolen crude oil, which was reportedly arrested by a newly contracted private pipeline surveillance team. He said more worrying to him was the justification by General Irabo of the destruction of the contraband. According to Mr. Falana, the statement credited to General Irabo is a deliberate attempt to cover up the involvement of military personnel in the serious crime of oil theft, as there is no provision of the rules of engagement that authorizes military personnel or security operatives to set fire or destroy vessels loaded with stolen crude. He goes on to state that what the legal consequences of destroying a vessel without a court order are. Mr. Falana said, the Chief of Defense Staff is not unaware that under the service law, the burning of a ship or vessel by military personnel is a serious offense which attracts life imprisonment without any option of fine. He concludes by advising the president to sack the chief of army staff should he hesitate to resign his position. In addition to that, Mr. Falano asked for the immediate arrest of the military personnel who set the vessel on fire, as well as charged them with arson before a court-martial. Now, with the wave of recent discoveries of illegal pipelines used for oil theft in the Niger Delta region, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is asking the federal government to publish the names of perpetrators or face legal action. SERAP is specifically requesting that a presidential panel of inquiry should be set up to investigate the operations of illegal oil pipelines from 2001 to date and ensure culprits are prosecuted. In a letter, the rights group explains that the federal government is under obligation to protect the country's oil wealth and ensure it is used solely for the benefit of Nigerian citizens and not end up in private pockets. SERAP adds that if the government does not take action in 14 days, it will take appropriate legal actions to compel compliance with its request in the interest of the public. And now to the flooding situation across the country. More people have been displaced in Delta State following the floods that have ravaged several communities across many local government areas of the state. And most of the people have moved to the various IDP camps provided, while a few others are still in the communities trying to salvage what is left of their property. The state government, through its interventionist agency, the Delta State Oil Producing Areas Development Commission, DESOPADEC, has been touring the various IDP camps in the states to provide food and other relief materials to the victims.
This is St. Michael's College IDP Camp, Ole, one of the IDP camps for victims of the flooding, which has submerged many communities around the River Niger in Delta State. Having lost their farms, properties and other means of livelihood to the floods, the people are left with no option but to put up here solely dependent on government support and that of other well-meaning Nigerians. As the victims arrive, they go through documentation and afterwards are allocated bed spaces for their immediate comfort, while water is also provided for cooking. In their innocence, the children still chat and play in the premises, almost unaware of the challenges faced by their parents. Interventionist agency of the Delta State government, the Delta State Oil Producing Areas Development Commission, is here to provide succor by making available health facilities, especially during emergencies.
We are now having those that are in camp here, whom we are taking care of. And to take further care of the people, you know, when people are clustered, there's the possibility of epidemic, of diseases spreading in whatever form and so forth. To ensure that none of those things happen, that we don't lose anyone that has come down this way, we have set up a medical unit here, the sick bay, where they can cater for the people.
The people here have been adequately managed here. So we are here on ground, and by the grace of God, we believe that everything will go on well.
In some other flooded communities, residents have refused to move to the camps provided for fear of completely losing all of their belongings. They narrate their experiences while pleading with the government not to forget them.
We need free material. We don't get place to stay. No food, no beds. Inside streets nowadays.
Meanwhile, DESOPADEC responds to their call with food items. They are ensuring blocked water channels are opened to reducing flooding.
You can see clearly this swarm boogie that is trying to open this channel up, because the community here is flooded now. They need a big bus cover here. So what I'm going to do here now is to cut the tar road into two for the water to pool out. Then immediately after the flood, we'll come and do the bus cover for them.
With this exercise across communities in Warri South, Uvwe, Udu and Ugeli South local government areas of the state, in addition to the establishment of over 12 IDP camps, the Delta State government believes these efforts will mitigate the sufferings of the people during this difficult time.
state, not less than 50 communities have been displaced due to flood in coastal communities of Ohaji-Egbema and Oguta local government areas. Houses, schools, churches and farmlands have been submerged as properties worth millions of naira are destroyed. Now, while the displaced victims seek aid, the state government has put up an IDP camp for them with some relief materials to cushion the effect of the flood.
All producing local government areas of Oguta and Ohaji-Egbema in Imo State are coastal communities with most of its villages lying within the banks of the Rashe River and Oguta Lake, which are tributaries of the River Niger. But due to the recent flood, at least 50 communities and several houses have been submerged. Left with no option, victims move their belongings to safer places as farmers try to salvage what is left of their farm produce due to the flood that has disrupted their lives. So it's natural that they seek help from the Imo State and the federal government, asking for quick intervention.
For nearly 2 weeks now, you can see the homes of my people, they have all left here. And I don't know where they are. Help is not coming from anywhere, and there is no sign of abating what we are seeing now.
All of us were surprised that everywhere has been coated by flood. So the thing is giving us so many concerns. We the communities, we the farmers, we don't know what to do.
In response and as a remedial measure to cushion the impact of the flood, the state government, through the Imo State Oil Producing Area Development Commission, sets up an IDP camp where relief materials and daily meals are provided for victims.
We're quite happy that we're able to bring some palliative, something to bring succor to the people of the community. One of the things we've done here is to ensure that they can have hot meals every day for some days to go, until the water recedes significantly. And also we provided some accommodation for them where they can stay for those whose houses are actually totally deluged.
The Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, who was represented by his deputy during a visit to the camp, says the state government will be there for them.
We came in and erected IDP camp for those indigent people who don't have anywhere to sleep. We are going to bring some doctors beyond borders. I'm talking to them already. As soon as I finalize the arrangement, we are going to bring them somewhere here and make sure the elderly, the needs, the poor people can access free medical services.
Some of the communities affected by the flood are Manu, Abaize, Umoji, Obiako, among others. While these victims pray that the water recedes as quickly as possible, more help is apparently required to give them a greater sense of belonging.
Meanwhile, residents of Bayelsa State are daily looking for higher grounds to relocate their property and are extending their call for help from the federal and state governments and also to well-meaning individuals and private organizations. Now, while the devastating flood continues to rise, churches in Yenagoa, the state capital, recorded low attendance to their Sunday services as most members battle with the attendant challenges of the rising flood situation in the state. A clergyman who spoke to our correspondent disclosed that most of the members are affected by the flood.
The government said we need the money. Yeah? The government said we need the money.
The flood, it's a natural thing. We're not really expecting it to be this much. From all we had and from what we are seeing, the flood seemed to be more than that of the 2012. When we were building the children's church, we did the DCP level in line with the 2012 flood. So we did that construction only for us to discover that this time the flood came and were overwhelmed. The children's church, like you saw when we went there, was submerged down to the convenience. So as we're having the service now, the members cannot have access to use the convenience during service. And actually it affected the response of the people to the church for those who are living in areas like across the Epie Canal. Those in the other areas cannot come down here. So we advise them to join the neighboring districts at the campground area.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed sadness over the devastation brought by the flood in Bayelsa State. The president, who condoles with the families of the victims and those affected by the floods, also directed all emergency bodies to provide aid to the victims. President Buhari blamed building on water channels, disregard for early warning by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and changes to weather caused by climate change as chiefly the cause for the disaster. Well, still on the flooding, there are concerns that the recent swamping experienced in Nasarawa State, north-central Nigeria, and other states of the country may affect the production of rice in the country. But Nasarawa State, which is one of Nigeria's major rice-producing hubs, also houses Olam Farms, which is the single largest rice farm in the country, with an annual milling capacity of 240,000 metric tons. However, the recent flood has destroyed over 4,000 hectares of its rice farm and over 7,000 cultivated rice farming communities in the state. Our correspondent, Halima Gayam, has a report.
Rice is a staple food in Nigeria, and a measure of it, which is about 8 cups, sells for over 700 naira in the north-central state of Nasarawa. On the high side for a state which is one of the major producers of the grain in the country. While the price continues to rise with the growing demand, the single largest rice farm in the country, located in Rukubi community of Doma local government area of the state, is submerged by flood. Weeks now, the water is yet to recede. Olam Farm uses water from River Benue for irrigation, but this time, even the 9 meters tall dike and the watering equipment could not stop the water. Authorities say they have preventive measures in place, but the impact of climate change hit harder this time. The farm can only be accessed using boats or canoes, as the chief agronomist takes our crew on a guided tour. We are moving on thousands of hectares of cultivated rice farm lands, which has now become an extension of the River Benue, sort of. Over 20,000 tons of paddy was expected. Food security is threatened here, and the scarcity of rice looms, especially as the ban on the importation of rice is still on.
The entire 426 hectares of Olam rice farm, Rukubi, is submerged by the flood. We are expected to commence harvesting by 26th and 27th of October, but that is no longer there again. And we are expected to harvest 4.5 tons per hectare from the 4,426 hectares. That is already gone.
Over 7,000 hectares of rice farmlands cultivated by rice-producing communities in Doma and other areas are still under the waters. Farming communities in Doma are displaced. The people ferry what they can on canoes as they now reside on sections of the dikes of Olam farms that are still standing. Farming put on hold. Farmers seek shelter as they build their shanties. And fishing is what they do now. Olam has a milling capacity of 240,000 metric tons per year. With this incident, the authorities say its production capacity will be affected.
This damage to the farm, we are suspecting that our milling outputs could go by around 30% in the coming year. Of course, we'll be able to recover if, depending upon the situation all around the country. How much of the crop has been affected or damaged?
With the flood, Nasarawa's rice production capacity, and by extension that of the country, has been largely affected by this natural disaster, which is spread across other rice-producing states. Halima Gayam, Channels Television News.
Really devastating. Well, away from the floods, the paramount ruler of our kingdom in Ondo State, southwest Nigeria, His Royal Majesty Ajibade Ogunye, has commended President Muhammadu Buhari for honoring 4 indigenes of the town with national awards. The monarch gave the commendation at a reception organized in his kingdom for Governor Rotimi Akeredolu and the 3 other awardees at his palace ground. The event was attended by top personalities from within and outside the state.
A few days ago, 450 Nigerians were conferred with national honors by President Muhammadu Buhari in line with the National Act of 1964 for their contribution to the development and progress of the country. Interestingly, 4 of the awardees, including Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, hail from our kingdom in Ondo State, southwest Nigeria. Others are Chief Akimboro Aruajoye, Chief Rotimi Birakpo, and retired Justice Idris Harun, whose maternal lineage is from Owo. A good reason for this reception for bringing pride to the kingdom. An elated Olowo of Owo, Oba Ajibade Ogunye, who describes the awards as unprecedented, appreciates President Muhammadu Buhari for the honor and extols the virtue of his people.
It shows the fact that Mr. President is for all Nigerians. We thank him, we thank the Federal Executive Council and the federal government at large for this honor conferred on the distinguished sons of this great kingdom. 4 of them at a go. It's unprecedented, and we are glad for it.
Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, who is represented by his Chief of Staff, Olugbenga Ali, also thanks the President for the great honor.
I must once again express my appreciation to President Muhammadu Buhari, CFR, and the federal government of Nigeria for conferment of the national honors on me and my brother honorees of our extraction. Mr. President is undoubtedly a leader that can be trusted, a leader that is not swayed by sophism or soapiness. He has indeed demonstrated profound statesmanship.
Other honorees were also full of kind words and appreciation to the nation's leader and the people led by the Olowo.
I'm very, very happy today that my community is recognizing me for the achievement that I've achieved in life. This is the best town in the whole world because I'm very proud to come from home. And you can see everybody in the community, they are honoring me, those people that got the national award.
The recognition accorded me today by His Royal Highness, the Imperial Majesty, the Olowo is very, very historic. It's a thing I can never forget in my life. And I see it as a depth of honor that I pray God I'll be able to pay back.
The event features performances to showcase the rich musical heritage of our kingdom.
And now to the arts. Genesis is a group exhibition at Okomoko Gallery in Lagos State. In an art review tonight, we look at the maiden exhibition at the gallery.
Some may have closed, but in the middle of it all stands Okomoko Art Gallery, which has braved the odds, opening its doors so art collectors and other visitors can see more works of art with a difference, beginning with its maiden exhibition titled Genesis.
I titled it Genesis because it is like the beginning of more to come.
because we have intentions of having so many other exhibitions, but because this is our first exhibition here in the Okomoko Art Gallery, we titled it Genesis, as in the first and the beginning of many other exhibitions to come.
Some of the artists are here to explain the images they've brought to this exhibition hall and what inspired them to create it.
I'm exhibiting two works here. There is a female figure there, yes, that is titled Natural Beauty. Yes, and the second one there is Viking. It's a male head that is representing a warrior. You know, every one of us, we have a fighting passion in us that actually keeps us going in life. So, as humans, we have that zeal to fight, to conquer our territory. So that is what that work is actually talking about. You have to be very fearless in your endeavors.
So most of the artworks here are the kind of works we used to do when I was in IMT. Mainly village settings, then the streets of Lagos, that's the kind of thing we see here in the Lagos. Then some abstracts, some stylized works, and then some other kind of arts that we feel that are already facing out. Because there are some arts that used to exist when we were much younger, but now we don't see them anymore. And because some artists doesn't have opportunities of showcasing their works, most of these styles are dying.
According to the organizers, the Genesis Art Exhibition is the first in the series of many more to come within this space.
From art to tech, it's a journey of multiple successes for Nigeria at the Gulf Information and Technology Exhibition GITEX held in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. At the event, a Nigerian tech firm struck a deal worth $10 million with Microsoft, just as another Nigerian startup innovator emerged winner of the Supernova Pitch Challenge with a cash prize of $8,000. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Mr. Issa Pantami, and the Director General of the National Information and Technology Development Agency, NITDA, Mr. Kashifu Inuwa, described Nigeria's outing at the annual event as lucrative. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, who is in Dubai, reports.
The Dubai World Trade Center is hosting thousands of creatives from across the globe, including the Nigerian delegation at the Gulf Information and Technology Exhibition, GITEX. Here, innovation meets money, and the Nigerian government is not letting any opportunity slide. This is the Nigeria Pavilion here at the World Trade Center, where the country is showcasing its potential in the area of information, communication and technology to the global community. We have various agencies and parastatals of the government represented here at the pavilion. At a meeting organized by the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, the Director General of the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, highlights Nigerian government's efforts at creating the enabling environment for innovations to thrive.
Under this administration, the government redesignated and renamed our ministry from Ministry of Communications to Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. So this shows the political will of the government to create the right environment for innovation tech startups.
This year's GITEX receives 800 entries for the Supernova Pitch Challenge competition, the biggest in the Middle East, and Nigeria's startup Sharp beats Datums of India in the Smart City and Mobility category to clinch a cash prize of $8,000, a feat that excites the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy.
It clearly confirms our belief that Nigeria is doing well, and also digital innovation and digital entrepreneurship will be the future of Nigeria, will be the future of Africa, and will be the future globally. There is no doubt about this. Look at the innovative ideas coming from Nigeria. Look at each and every innovation, each and every startup you will discover is amazing.
I feel great, but most importantly, a big thanks to my team because this is not a single man's job. It's a teamwork, and I so much appreciate, the efforts.
Meanwhile, Nigerian startups have signed deals and partnerships worth over $10 million.
Apart from the grants, apart from interest, others have shown to invest, but the one that have already been signed is about $10 million.
The GITEX is where ideas and vision turns into reality, and for the Nigerian innovators who have participated at this year's event, they look forward to even bigger opportunities. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Empress Simon, Channels Television News.
And in China, President Xi Jinping signaled there will be no immediate loosening of his controversial zero-COVID strategy as a historic Communist Party Congress opened in Beijing. According to the president, the policy was introduced to save lives, which he says has been largely achieved. President Xi Jinping's position comes amidst public fatigue over lockdowns and travel restrictions, which is now being expressed in rare public protests by Chinese who are lamenting the impact of the strategy and punishing a toll on the people and the economy.
This country is its people. The people are the country. As the Communist Party of China has led the people in fighting to establish and develop the People's Republic, it has really been fighting for their support. Bringing benefits to the people is the fundamental principle of governance. Working for the people's well-being is an essential part of the party's commitment to serving the public good and exercising governance for the people. We must ensure and improve the people's well-being in the cause of pursuing development and encourage everyone to work hard together to meet the people's aspirations for a better life. Resolving the Taiwan question is a matter for the Chinese, a matter that must be resolved by the Chinese. We will continue to strive for peaceful reunification with the greatest sincerity and the utmost effort, but we will never promise to renounce the use of force, and we reserve the option of taking all measures necessary. This is directed solely at interference by outside forces and the few separatists seeking Taiwan independence and their separatist activities. It is by no means targeted at our Taiwan compatriots. The wheels of history are rolling on toward China's reunification and rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Complete reunification of our country must be realized, and it can, without doubt, be realized.
And Britain's new finance minister, Jeremy Hunt, says he will show investors that he will repair the country's public finances after the original economic plans of Prime Minister Liz Truss triggered a bond market rout. Mr. Hunt said in an interview that no government could control the markets and no chancellor should seek to do that. But he plans to show the markets, the world, that the government could account for its spending.
Well, no government can control the markets, no chancellor should seek to do that. Well, there is one thing we can do, and that's what I'm going to do, which is to show the markets, the world, indeed people watching at home, that we can properly account for every penny of our tax and spending plans. Actions speak louder than words. The Prime Minister has changed her Chancellor. We are going to have a very big fiscal statement, a bit like a budget, in which we set out the tax and spending plans for several years ahead, and that's going to be independently verified by the Office for Budget Responsibility. We've been honest that it was a mistake not to do that in the mini-budget before. I'm not taking anything off the table. I want to keep as many of those tax cuts as I possibly can, because our long-term health depends on being a low-tax economy, and I very strongly believe that. Well, I was in the Cabinet in 2010 when we had that first period of austerity. I don't think we're going to have anything like that this time. For people who are on the breadline.
Officials in Iran say the situation in the country is now under control after a major fire broke out on Saturday at the notorious Evin prison. Videos show flames and smoke at the site in Tehran, and gunshots and explosions could be heard at the center known for housing political prisoners, journalists, and foreign nationals. Iran has been gripped for weeks by anti-government protests, and the first erupted last month after the death of 22-year-old Kurdish Iranian Mahsa Amini in police custody. However, it is not yet known whether the situation at the prison is linked to the recent demonstrations. Well, diplomats have been warning against pushing rebels out of towns by Ethiopian and Eritrean troops. They warned that it can result in civilian bloodbath in Ethiopia's northern region. The Tigray residents say food and medical supplies are running out as a massive offensive on the northern region intensifies. Cities are being carpet-bombed, says Tedros Ghebreyesus, the World Health Organization chief, who is from Tigray. Civilians are being killed and those wounded cannot be saved because of a siege, he says. Sports news now. It's end of the road for Rivers United in their CAF Champions League campaign this season, as the Pride of Rivers, who were a man down this evening, suffered a 6-0 defeat to Morocco's Wydad Athletic Club in Casablanca. Rivers United had won the first leg 2-1 in Port Harcourt last week, but their opponent will now advance to the group phase of the continent's biggest club competition, 7-2 on aggregate. Rivers United will, however, play in a playoff to secure passage to the group phase of the CAF Confederation Cup. All three Nigeria clubs sides in the continent, that includes Rivers United, Plateau United and Kwara United, suffered defeat in the return leg of their games, having won the first leg of their ties at home. Staying with club competition, reigning champions Real Madrid beat Barcelona 3-1 in the Clásico to overtake their fierce rivals at the top of La Liga earlier today. Karim Benzema opened the scoring in the 12th minute by converting a rebound after Marc-Andre ter Stegen saved from Vinicius Jr., with Fede Valverde drilling home the second from the edge of the box before the break. Ferran Torres pulled one back for Barcelona in the final stages after good work by Ansu Fati, but Rodrigo won and converted a late penalty to ensure Carlo Ancelotti's side inflicted Barcelona's first domestic defeat of the season. Madrid ended the Catalans' 7-game winning streak in the league and added to the still raw pain of their struggles in Europe, where they are on the verge of Champions League elimination. Well, speaking of ending runs, Liverpool has ended Manchester City's unbeaten start to this season as Mohamed Salah's strike 14 minutes from time kick-started the Reds' campaign in a 1-0 win at Anfield earlier today, as the younger club's men are still 10 points behind City and 14 adrift of Premier League leaders Arsenal, but they kept their title aspirations alive with just a third league win of the season. Bukayo Saka scored the only goal as Arsenal beat Leeds 1-0 for the 9th win in 10 games. Chelsea, Graham Potter's side this evening defeated Aston Villa 2-0 at Villa Park to seal their 4th consecutive win in all competitions and heaped the pressure on under-fire Steven Gerrard. Cristiano Ronaldo had 2 goals disallowed as Manchester United were held to a 0-0 draw by Newcastle United at Old Trafford. Well, away from football, Andrei Rublev beat Sebastian Korda to win the Gion Open earlier today, his 4th tour-level title of the season. The top seed fired 29 winners and converted 3 of 5 breakpoint opportunities to defeat the American 6-2, 6-3 in 7 minutes. The title also boosts the world number 9's chances to appear at the ATP Finals in Turin next month for the 3rd year in a row.
6-2, 6-3. El trofeo de campeón del Gijón Open ATP 250 a Andrei Rublev.
But now to boxing, Deontay Wilder says the excitement in the heavyweight division is back following his first-round knockout of Robert Helenius at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Wilder was making his return for the first time since losing to Tyson Fury last October, but showed no ring rust as he dropped his opponent with a right hand that ended the fight 3 seconds before the bell rang. Afterwards, the bronze bomber declared he was down for whatever, while name-dropping unified world champion Alexander Usyk.
The heavyweight division, man, the excitement is back.
Welcome back, my man.
It's not, the heavyweight division is nothing without Deontay Wilder. And that ain't trying to be cocky or trying to be, you know, boastful. That's just straight facts. Who do it like I? No one. You know, and I got people that I love, and I got people that love me, you know, around me. So, you know, long live the king, and I can't wait for the next one. We'll see what happens, and I'm a keep Usyk to his word. You know, we will be calling his team, you know, and whoever his handler is, and we're gonna see what's up. And if he a man of his word, what a hell of a fight it would be.
And the main news again. Mr. Biodun Oyebanji, a former secretary to the Ekiti State government, was today sworn in as the 5th executive governor of Ekiti State. He becomes the first governor of a state to take over from a predecessor from the same political party. And that's the news at 10 for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Okikilu. Good night.